Good evening and welcome. Welcome to the Corleone Show. In the house this evening is Simon Spruce, Christopher. Good evening. David Lloyd, John Wilson, and Karen Evans. There we go then. 15 people in the house. 3 thumbs up and we haven't even started. Hey, I watched The Irishman for the second time. Honestly, got nothing better to do, have I? Anybody know what The Irishman is? Good evening, Lee Summers. Wow, 21 people in the house, and we haven't even warmed up yet. So, what would you like to talk about tonight? Crack on. Crack on. Tell me. Should we talk about film stars and how they wind me up when I listen to their shit? When I listen to their psychobabble? Good evening, Jay Brooker. Good evening to you. Karen Murphy, good evening to you as well. It just came on my iPad. I should perhaps turn the iPad off. And what I've always said that I just would love dog trainers who've been successful in the gun dog world to come on and actually say it the way it is. And one of these so-called film stars, his nickname is Biomin Ben, did a live answers and questions this week, and I listened to it. Why didn't he answer the questions, all the questions, because there wasn't that many of them? He was asked about placeboard training. Do you recommend placeboard training? Didn't answer it. Why? Is it because he fears he may upset certain people in the trial world? What about the electric collar? A question was asked about electric collar. Dismissed. And yet he condemned food trainers. He said people who food train dogs create excitement and create different problems. Well, I agree with some of the things he says, but guess what? There is so much out there. Why don't they talk about discipline? Why don't they talk about the discipline side of it? Because they fear it, don't they? Because it's all to do with keeping people happy, isn't it? It's not the real world, is it, out there? And that's the problem with the dog training world. And I know I keep going on about it, but it really disappoints me when somebody who's been successful in the trialing world is supposed to be an ambassador for the sport. Surely you should be able to talk about the sport in the proper way. Now, it's like we've fought back over the e-collar ban, haven't we? And we haven't won, but there's been a bit of success this week where it's been proven that the science study that they studied. Sorry, I was watching another comment at the top there. They studied the science, and the people who were studying the science were absolutely going out of their way to manipulate it because they wanted to prove their agenda that the e-collar was a dangerous tool. So it's been proven that it was unbiased. It was biased, and it wasn't unbiased. So technically, that's a win for the fact. It's like saying going to court and the witnesses are all your brothers and sisters. Well, the witnesses, the jury is your brothers and sisters and friends. It's an absolute joke, isn't it? And that's exactly what it's like. Good evening, 10 Mile Catherine Chudley. 10 mile a day, Catherine Chudley. Good evening. Good evening, Peter Piper. Good evening, Not Tables Carlos. Sue's in the house in the background, as you can see. She's just had her teeth done. Look. Oh, no, it's a mask. Springer Commodore, good evening. John Griffins, good evening. Thanks, Paul. Chris made me a natural in the limelight. Don't know what that means. Thanks, Paul. Chris made me a natural in the limelight. Paul Jarvis, those last 2 videos were good, mate. Thanks for sharing them for us. Yep, without people like John willing for people to see those videos, you wouldn't see how we get the best out of the dogs. And like I say, for this A-panel judge, and I've done a video on Patreon about it, for this A-panel judge to say that he invented positive sit, that he invented the positive sit, and no other trainers have ever done it. And he's trained with so many different people. Guess what? He was a sponge. He soaked it up from every trainer in the country, every professional trainer in the country. He sucked up to get his little finger in every pie that he could. As simple as that. Now, I'm not being a bitch. What I'm saying is, if you're going to come on the internet and talk about dog training, be honest about it. Don't lie about it. Come and debate with me. Bring your A-panel status and come and debate with me, a non-panel judge, but someone who's been there, seen it, and read the book, because you're misleading people. If you're training pets and you train pets with treats and love and affection, and you only get so much out of them without real temptation, and they're happy with that, then fine, crack on. But I live in the real world. I train gun dogs. I don't train pets. If I was training pets, I might go down the food-based way of training more than I do. I use food, but you to slag off people who use food, it's wrong. It's wrong. It shows how lack of education you've got. If you slag off people who use play sports, you're wrong. It shows the lack of education. Now, I don't think you need a play sport to train every behavior on, the same as with an e-collar. I don't think you need an e-collar to train every behavior. But if you have tools in your box and you've got an open mind and you talk with sense, and then when people listen to you, especially professional people who've been doing it a lot longer than you and actually have a bigger insight into problem dogs, the real problem we have these days. Let me just read this out to you. This is from a terrier man. This is from a terrier man. This is not from a gun dog man. Yes, he's got gun dogs and he may go on shoots. Your dog is not a baby. Today's culture is absolutely ruining dogs, and the behaviors we are seeing more and more preventable problems appearing, not only at our facilities, but in public domain too. People are treating their dogs like children, and no matter how much you say it or what you believe, they are not children, they are dogs. They're an apex predator with 42 teeth in their head and bite pressure that can break bones. They deserve treating like dogs. I agree 100%. See, I can agree with other people. I can agree with many people, but I can also stand up and say I disagree with that so-called film star who's trying to sell himself as the dog trainer to the film stars. I deal with professional film stars. That makes me a god in the dog training world. Calls himself a dog whisperer. A dog whisperer. I mean, where the hell is that coming from? Dog whisperer. I thought Cesar Millan had that. I thought that was Cesar Millan's words. Does he nick them as well? Because who do you think invented positives in training? Do you think only purely positive people invented positives in training? No. For years and years and years, for hundreds and hundreds of years, people have been using positives in training as well as negatives. And society has said, no, we go down the road of only positive. You're not allowed to use negative, like it says. You can't say no to your dog. You can't go out in cold weather with your dog. You can't get your dog muddy. You can't give your dog a job. Can't feed dog raw meat. If your dog is in shape, it's too skinny. We are walking around the world where giving a dog a job is cruel beyond belief, but having a dog at 30k overweight with diabetes falling out of its ears is absolutely fine. It's warped and twisted, and it's totally wrong. See, working dogs, somehow treating your dog like a dog has become a taboo subject, and because of the warped snowflake generation that is flooding the industry. And that's exactly what has happened, everyone. I am not a sexist. I love women. But guess what? So many women have come into the sport and the sport has gone downhill because, oh no, you can't do that with that lamb. Oh no, you can't walk that cow into that shed with an Alkathene pipe. Oh no, you're not allowed to use a riding crop for a horse. I'm sorry. Society has become absolutely ridiculous. You shouldn't beat a horse with a riding crop. You shouldn't beat any animal with a riding crop. But I'm not saying all, but a lot of people without children spoil their dogs almost to the point of being pathetic. Exactly, Catherine. That's the whole point that I try and get across on here. I'm trying to bring open format and dialogue between dog trainers, and guess what? It's not out there. I think James Flynn approached me and said, "Would I do a podcast? Would I do a podcast and sit and chat?" Yes, I will. But I said, let me see how many people come forward first and offer to do that. I haven't seen one podcast because I want to see it from the gun dog world, not just the dog training world. At least the dog training world, people are stepping forward and saying, without discipline, without correction, without gameplay, we don't get the best out of our dogs, and we're talking about it. Am I the only gun dog trainer who gives it the way it is? If it wasn't for John allowing me to put those videos up, I couldn't show you John giving the dog a correction. Now, I've edited the videos to go on YouTube. Why? Because of the snowflakes and the people who get triggered and upset when they come in looking for me to abuse a dog, or a client of mine to abuse a dog. He didn't abuse the dog in any way. If anything, he's give that dog all the chances of having natural ability and the desire. And now we're putting in the control. But you can't say he hasn't done it through, he hasn't built that eye contact and that desire to retrieve and return with the retrieve and hand it to him with such beautiful eye contact with the retrieve and sit out in front of him perfectly without, he has used gameplay to get that. Now the dog is beginning to test him. That's the time you step in and start to show discipline. It's like saying, you're not allowed to show discipline to a child. You're not allowed to smack a child. You're not allowed to use any discipline of any sort. You can't raise your voice. You can't belittle them in any way. You can't tell them off because you'll hurt their feelings. And guess what? Then when they go out in the big wide world, they think they can talk to anyone the way they want to, and there's no ground rules. I've been to Catherine's house. She's got 2 beautiful children. And at the end of the day, she sets ground rules. We set ground rules with our children. Without ground rules, there would be anarchy. As simple as that. They would try and take over, the same as these dogs. And that's exactly what's happening in the dog training world. And if who's going to talk about it? Who's going to talk about it? They say, oh yes, but you can train the dog with love and affection and treats. You can start the dog training at 3 weeks or 5 weeks or 8 weeks and start training with food, because the mother gives them food when they're born. And that's where they learn from. They stay with the mother for the food. They'll stay with you for the food. You're bribing them. When they get bored of the food and the value of the food goes out the window compared to the value of the chase and the value of the not listen to you, that's why we see so many people with problems. That's why we see so many people with problems. In the gun dog world, we don't see as many, but guess what? It's creeping into the sport of trialing. It's creeping into the sport of tests. Why? Because the standard's getting worse because of idiots out there saying you can treat dogs with love and affection to get the best out of them. We all want to treat our dogs with love and affection. We all want to treat our dogs with love and affection. And like I've said before, people have said, what's best, a dog in a kennel or a dog in the house? Plenty of people with dogs in the house that make top quality champions, make top quality dogs. But there's plenty of people who put dogs in a kennel and they've never been in the house that make top quality champions, top quality dogs. It's a matter of preference, and you should have a right to decide how you want to train your dog. And that's what I've stood up for the last 10 years on the internet. The right to train your dog the way you see fit, as long as it's not cruel, as long as it's within the law of this land. But what's going to happen if they get their own way? The Kennel Club, the RSPCA, BASC don't back us, and yet we see the Gamekeepers Association actually back the fact that the flawed ideology of the science investigation into e-collars, and they've backed the e-collar people and said, yeah, we agree, it was totally biased. So well done to the Gamekeepers Association. Cheers, good on you. BASC for sitting on the fence. You're a bunch of fat, cigar smoking, arrogant bastards. That's what you are. You're only interested in your own selves. You're like fat cats who want all the cream. You sit there and you side with the majority, not the minority. And unfortunately, shooting scene is a minority, not a majority. It's the same as farmers. Farmers get so much pressure to do certain things because the countryside is moving out to the farm, into the farm areas, aren't they? The housing estates are going up, and farming can be seen on the hill with his cattle. And if he's leading his cattle in with an Alkathene pipe, it doesn't mean he's beating them with an Alkathene pipe, but he's walking in, tapping the Alkathene pipe, moving the cattle on. He's got dogs out there working. He's rounding the cattle up, and he's seen with an Alkathene pipe. He'll get a visit from the RSPCA and say, "What the hell are you doing with that?" Because some nosy idiot sitting in their house half a mile away has got a pair of binoculars out looking to see anything they can do to cause shit. That's why it was so important in that video with John to me explain he did not pick the dog up by the ears. He picked the dog up by the scruff. She's such a little light dog. He never hurt her in any way. He did nothing other than what the mother would do in a situation of scolding the pup. He brought the dog back. He put the dog down. And I said, "Why did you do that? Why don't you go put the lead on the dog and bring the dog back?" Why? Because from a distance, somebody would say, "He picked the dog up by the ears and he swung it round," when in fact he didn't. It's exactly the same scenario as what happened to me when they said, "He picked the dog up by its ears, swung it around, and then threw it into the ground." And then they said, "Ha ha, but wasn't the dog funny that he didn't seem to bother it?" Because he didn't do that. He picked it up by the scruff, exactly the same as John. But John was picking up a very, very small, light cocker, right? You could pick it up so easy, right? I was picking up a big, strong Springer and putting it back on the spot because it was moving forward. The dog knew the behavior. The dog had been nurtured through gameplay. The dog had trust in me totally. So when I give the correction, the dog didn't sulk. At no point did John's dog sulk when he gave the correction to his cocker. Now, if you want to come across the Patreon and have a look and see the abuse that we used on that cocker to get that cocker right. And yet we have used gameplay to get the dog to sit. And I was explaining to him how to get more positive sit with more positive method rather than the discipline. But if you give a command and the dog disobeys the command, you've got to follow through with a correction. As simple as that. You've got to put the dog right or don't give the command. So what we do, not train the dogs, let the dogs run riot, let the dogs run wild, because that's exactly what happened. See that? Look, John's even weighed his dog. Look, 9.5K. Look, 9.5K, that little dog. Look at that. I weigh about 40 times bigger than the dog, right? Anyway, it's made me angry. It's made me angry because I'm so frustrated with the only guy out there. Everyone's, well, so many people now are beginning to sort of say, "I'm a dog trainer, I'm a gun dog trainer," and I'm putting up videos on YouTube and on Facebook, and I'm doing seminars and I'm doing live chats and all this. Where do you think it's come from? They've sat and watched me, 3.5 million views, 7,000 subscribers, and thought, "Hang on, he's talked about discipline, but he's not been hammered." As long as I don't talk about discipline and I just show affection, you see them flooding dogs with food. You see these women giving these dogs, and they look quite nice. They look quite nice, but guess what? The average person wouldn't see the weakness in the training, where a professional trainer like myself can see the weakness straight away. And if anyone wanted to come on and talk about it and challenge me, challenge my way of thinking, that's debate. There's nothing wrong with debate. I would debate with anybody in the country. Anybody in the country. Did you see? Catherine said, "How are you, Sue?"
Yeah, I just seen it now.
Oh, you just seen it.
Mm-hmm.
She's not ignoring you, Catherine. Honestly, she's just so busy playing games. She plays games on her iPad. She's obsessed with games. So okay. So does anybody want to ask any questions? Does anybody want to come on live and chat with Chris? No. So what we're going to do tonight? Chris Duval's in the house, is he? I think I've seen him tonight. Yeah, Chris is in the house. After we finish here, Chris, I don't know if you want to go into Corleone Talk and have half an hour to an hour on Corleone Talk, or if you're all too busy, it's completely up to you. Because we went over to Corleone Talk after the live feed on Patreon on Sunday. There was a few people who said, "Why do you need to go over there? I'm not on Facebook." That's not my fault. That's not my fault that you're not on Facebook. I can't help that. I'm trying to hit a few platforms for people to help people with advice. if due to work you have to walk the dogs in the dark in the morning and evening, what can people do regarding training? Not a lot, is it, Dave? Really? Is there any point in really training if you've got to work every day, morning and evening? You can take the dogs for a walk. It doesn't hurt the dogs to have, a week off and just do 1 or 2 days training. At the start of the shoot, Flo is reluctant to give me the bird, but by the end of the day, she is getting tired and she gives it up to me, no problem. There you go. Look at that question. She's got a question mark on her chin, though. Why is that? Why is that? That's down to training, Catherine, that is. That's down to training. Have you been training with Tony Candice, Catherine? I did notice that he contacted you. Tony Candice from Plymouth. He's got a rabbit pen at Lee Mill on the Delamere estate. If you have, you would have remembered him. Sue really likes him. Don't you, Sue?
Yeah, from a distance.
From a distance, she said, "Isn't that horrible?" Honestly.
With a paper bag on his head.
With a paper bag on his head. Stop it, Susan. Honestly, I got friends who are listening to this. She's so judgmental, isn't she? She's so judgmental. She had her head on today. She's been had a wig done. Been to the hairdressers. Honestly, she's had it coloured. I mean, I had to do my own. I can't decide whether to have it cut off completely and get myself a woman's wig, or just back comb it now because I'm getting older. Because I'm looking like Jack Nicholson. It's getting thinner and thinner, my hair. And I watched The Irishman and I watched the Martin Scorsese film, The Irishman, and they've all got their hair pinned back. All the mob, Corleone, all the mob bosses have all got their hair combed back, greased back, in it. That's why they call them grease balls, isn't it? Grease. Anyway, what am I talking about now? I'm just wandering off in a different subject, aren't I?
And Katie says, "Do you think the price of springers will ever come back to realistic prices?"
Yeah, I do. Frank Casey said it. Yeah, I think they will. Yeah, I think they will. I think people. Oh yeah, I'm getting these questions come up now. Do you think price of springers will ever come back to realistic prices anytime soon? Yes, I think they will. I think if people just do not buy the litters that are expensive, their prices have got to drop. If people keep advertising them and saying I sold a lot within a week, people are going to keep asking silly prices, aren't they? I wouldn't pay that sort of price. No, it's not a problem, Catherine. I saw that he was talking to you on Facebook. I did notice that he talked to you. He was talking to you about the cover crop or something that you've got, and I thought, wow, he's a friend of mine, and I thought, well, how did you know Tony? That's all.
If he had trained with her, she'd have come over, and it would have only been the once. She would have worked him out.
Oh my God! Stop it, Susan. Lee Summers. On work days when we only have 30 minutes in walk in the morning, when we get back to the car, she always lays down as she doesn't want to go home. As soon and very little grab a scruff, she knows to get in the car. Exactly, Lee. Exactly. And that's it. The scruff is a great tool for correcting behavior. Exactly. But society has now said that you can't do that. It's the dog's choice whether it wants to get in the car. You know, if you've got to stay there for an hour before the dog gets in the car because it doesn't want to get in the car, that's what you've got to do. The dog makes the decisions. Peter Taylor, try combing it forward. Why, Peter? Why now? It's like a greasy chicken at the moment. I got that freaking wax on it. The hairdresser gave me. Does it make me forehead look bigger? Honestly. David Brainbridge, hi all, he says. So Peter Taylor, you've been taking your cocker on the shoot then. Well done. Anybody else would like to talk about anything? Ask any questions. Honestly.
Robert Jeffrey, last one, come in.
Chris, my dog will pick up and carry dummies with fur and feather on, but not want to pick or carry dead game. How can I help overcome this problem? The first thing I would do is, because the smell of dead game Robert, is I would put it into a stocking or I put it into a sock. That's what I would do. I put it into a stocking and a sock. And then what I would do, if I put it in a sock and I rub my hands all over the sock, I then take the sock off after 1 or 2 retrieves and turn it round inside out, so the smell of the bird is on the sock. And sometimes it's the weight of the bird. And so what I would do is use a hen bird. I use hen birds to start with, or partridge if you can get hold of partridge. But I always start them off in a sock with a dog that's not particularly keen on retrieving. I find that because a sock or a stocking is a bit like having a canvas dummy, and the smell comes through the stocking. You know, it's like, don't you, when you're running your nose and your tongue up your wife's stocking, isn't it? Like, right? It's a sexy feeling, isn't it? And I think the dog feels the same. You know, honestly, I don't know why I went there.
Well, 26 minutes, and it's the first time in the
Catherine says he spoke to me once, but I got a bit bored. I agree, Sue. I gathered that on Facebook. There you go. Plymouth girls think alike. Peter Taylor, yes, he was a star today. Even sat still when a hare ran past him. There you go, Peter. Now, Peter, would you like to explain to people why your dog is behaving itself? Was it because you give it correction at the right time? And what correction did you give? What has been the game changer? And yet you've worked so hard with your dog. What has been the game changer? But introducing it at the right time and in the right way. That's important, isn't it? Have you got the bottle to say this on Facebook or YouTube? Is it YouTube? I don't even know where I am at the moment. So the simple thing is, same as yesterday, if I get 10 bollocks in a row, 10 bollocks in a row. Honestly, it sounds like in the jungle, doesn't it? Anyway, you didn't answer my question. Oh, no. Here we go. You didn't ask me a question. Yes, you did. No. Give a little no, she was scratching her chin. She was scratching her chin. She didn't say at the start of the shoot, Flo is reluctant to give me the bird. But at the end of the day, when she's getting tired, she gives it up to me, no problem. And I said, it's in the training. It's a breakdown in the training. If you said to me, how can I resolve it, Chris? I'd say, I don't know, because I'm not there. As simple as that, Catherine. And that's not being funny. I'm saying I have to watch the dog. Because if you get your training, if the hunting is more important than the retrieving, but you didn't say that. You said that she's holding on to it. So the idea is you go back to using the bird when she's fresh from not on the shoot, but the following day, you use a couple of birds, throw them out, put sender for them. And if she plays you up there in that situation, then you need to put her on the long line and condition her that she's got to come in. It's one of them things. If you skip parts of your training, then you're going to have breakdowns in that training. It's as simple as that. It's a breakdown in the training. But if I'm there, I can watch it. I can go, hang on, just do that. Look, just back yourself over there. Just move away from the dog. Stop calling the dog. It depends what you're doing, Catherine. And if you're a flapper, can you say that? If you're a flapper, I said flapper. If you're a flapper and you're panicking when the dog's got the bird, you come on, come here, and the dog's going, yeah, well, no, I'm keeping hold of it, because you're flapping. You're sending that message to the dog that the dog's in charge. So it's nice and calm and come here, a bit like a psychopath. Hope I answered that, Catherine. Okay. Andy's dead. Chris. Hi, Chris. Nice video of the young bitch hunting on the moor. Haha, birds flap. Women flap. Men flap. So we need 10 bollocks, didn't we? We got 1 bullocks. 1, 2, 3. 6, 7. What does BI mean? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 10. So okay. At the 11. End of 11. So at the end of this, then what we'll do, end of an hour completely. We give an hour on here, and then we go over to Corleone Talk. 12, Sue says. So we go over Corleone Talk, and so we'll introduce everybody in there. And the reason that I think Corleone Talk works really well is you see people's faces, and you can put a face to a name, and people seem to want to come in and do a bit more chatting on there, because it can't be the Chris Upton show. It's got to be your show. It's got to be for you people out there who want to ask the questions. If you want to ask the questions, at the end of the day, if you're having to bribe a puppy at the age of 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks with food, or bribe it with gameplay and boring it shitless, and then you're selling it to pet people, that's a completely different kettle of fish to selling a dog to working people who've got working dogs, who want to get the dogs to a good standard. And it's all right saying I'm not willing to talk about it on the internet about discipline. I'm not willing to talk about correction, because they fear losing customers. Surely the truth is the way forward, not absolute bullshit that they feed. And the stuff you listen to is unbelievable. And these people are getting asked to go all around Europe judging and giving seminars. There's no jealousy here. What I'm saying is you're only getting part of the package. You're getting the hype. Okay, she brings it to me always, but just doesn't let it go. Well, I've told you what to do there, Catherine. You've got to stand on the front foot, on the front pad. Stand on the front pad and say dead. Or when you're early in the morning and you go out with your dog, throw a retrieve to the dog and teach the word dead, or teach the word leave it. Now, if you teach the dog leave it for everything in life, that's no different than teaching the word no. Didn't that A panel judge was talking about leave it? He didn't invent the word leave it, right? I've seen people at trials going back 20 years. A dog would peg a bird and they go, leave it, leave it, leave it, leave it, leave it. And they had to change the rules. Why? Because technically, if you tell the dog to leave a bird that it catches, it's got to spit it out instantly and let it go. But if it catches a bird in a stick pile that's tucked in tight, and you say, and the dog lifts its head and looks at you, you haven't had to say leave it. So technically, you've taught the dog that when I say stop, look at me. So you can condition the dog in many a way. But guess what? What I teach the dog is no. So if I've got my best clothes on and the dog goes to jump up, I go no. Or if I don't want the dog to jump into the dog trailer and I want it to go into the kennel, and it goes to look like it's going to jump into the top of the dog box, I can say to the dog, no. I use the word. Sorry, you can teach the word, Catherine, dead. Right? You can teach the word dead. And that's what I do. So what happens if my dog picks up a rat in the field and it's running back to me and it's holding on to it and there's a rat in its mouth, I can go dead. Leave that. Right? So you can teach the dog whatever you want. Right? But you have to pair it. You have to pair it with the behavior that you want. So it's easy, because what you've got to do, Catherine, before you go on the shoot, take a couple of days to take a bird out, throw it out for the dog, send the dog for it. When she comes back, take it out the dog's mouth. And if the dog's holding on to it, put your fingers in there and go like that, right at the back where that join is in your mouth there, like that, and put that in. And if you do it to yourself, you just feel a little bit of pain, discomfort, pain. Talk about pain. What will happen now? The snowflakes. Oh, pain. Guess what the dog's going to do if you do that? Open it there like that, and the dog opens its mouth. Don't try and open it there. Don't try and open it there. Open it there, like that. Or if you don't want to do that, stand on the front pad. It's all to do with timing. Don't let the dog read it's happening. The dog comes in. You said she comes into you every time. That's fine, isn't it? If she's not coming into you, then you need to work on the recall. But if she's coming into you, right, especially if she's got a long line on or a lead on, you can take the lead. You can stand on the front pad and take it off. Because if I stood on your toe, you'd open your mouth. You don't have to be cruel. You don't have to be nasty. But that is the way it works. Soul says, looking like Bond tonight, mate. Hey. Good evening, Soul. Good evening. I'm selling the virus. to the highest bidder. And I've got the vaccine, the Oxford vaccine.
Catherine says she only whistles her in and she doesn't flap. Didn't think she would.
She says what?
She said, I only whistle her in and she doesn't flap.
I'm on about you flapping, Catherine, not the dog.
No, she doesn't flap.
Oh, she doesn't flap.
No.
She does. I've watched her. Oh, my God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. My name is Upton, Chris Upton. So stop it.
You're looking like Bond tonight.
Bondage. We're doing some bondage.
And Denver had a question.
Denver Skinner, Chris, is it normal for my 5-month-old Springer to walk with its nose to the ground and not to give much attention until you bring out a retrieve? Well, it is if you take the dog on scent. The best way to train a dog is on concrete with retrieving. The best way to walk a dog on heel work is on concrete because there's less temptation. As simple as that. As simple as that, right? 5-month-old Springer Spaniel, walk with his nose to the ground. It wouldn't bother me in the slightest. But my dogs don't walk with their nose to the ground. They run around at 5 months old, Denver, because I don't suppress them. I don't teach them to heel. So when he's walking with his nose to the ground, but guess what? If you want to walk the dog on the lead and teach the dog not to drop its head, then you can do that. But at 5 months old, I wouldn't be doing that. But at 12 months old, I would be more concerned. So that's when I would do that. And we could, if Sue wanted to, she could come over here with a lovely haircut and we could demonstrate with a dog lead where to place the lead on the head, on the neck. If we want to stop the dog sniffing on the ground, we could use Sue as an apprentice.
No. Denver said, he said, I mean running. Sorry, just use walk.
There you go.
Around.
There you go, Denver. See how I pick these things up? See, these little things are so important. You said walk and you mean running. Well, nothing wrong with the dog running around with its nose on the ground until you get the retrieve, because the scent, there's interest in all that. Don't make nothing of it at 5 months of age.
Lewis Collinsworth.
Lewis. Hello, Lewis. Hi, Chris. How do you stop my dog from shaking the dummy when retrieving? Seems like he's very hard mouthed. Do I tell him off when he starts to shake the dummy? Lewis, shaking the dummy can be a number of reasons, but the idea is you can use firm correction with the voice command. Is he doing it with everything? Is he doing it with a ball? Is he doing it with a dummy? Find something that you'll find that he has got no interest to shake it. I don't know the breeding of your dog. I don't know how you've trained your dog. It's very, very difficult, again, to give a perfect answer to that. It would show me so much more about the dog. If he was dominant with you, is he too dominant with you? Has he got too much drive? Have you allowed the dog to become a bit crazy? And what you got to do is calm the dog down. And the way you calm the dog down is by bringing the drive down, by bringing that desire down, if the desire is there for him to do that. But some dogs will shake dummies because they're not bred well. It's all to do with breeding as well, but I wouldn't know unless I watch the dog. Sometimes it can be genetics.
Yes, yeah, Kristen, to be honest, he does bite on the ball.
Yeah. So Karen's asking a question, Lewis. Just curious, is it cocker? We see it a lot. And he's a cocker. There you go, everybody. Welcome to the cocker world. David Beckham's got a cocker. Or is it just died? Oh no, that was Prince William, wasn't it? See?
What?
His cocker's died, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, that newsreader, that woman's newsreaders, her pet died today as well.
Oh, newsreaders. Was that a cocker as well?
Yeah, I think it was.
Cockers, honestly.
Got knocked over by a car.
Oh yeah, that's all.
It ran after a squirrel.
It ran after a squirrel and got knocked over by a car. I wonder who trained it. What a shame, innit? What a shame. What a shame.
Guy there as well.
Eh?
One very old, only a puppy.
Not very old. Sue knows everything about the news. She's honestly, she's iPad king. Nez, does he? Hang on, Nez. Does he do the shimmy, shake, or just the normal shake? Um, and he's a cocker. Paul Jarvis. Cockers rule the world. Yeah, crazy cockers. They rule the world. Like I said, everyone, I told you years and years ago, you've got to have a sense of humor to own a cocker. You've got to have a sense of humor to own a cocker. John's cocker is so funny. We're going to show you some of the videos, but where if he throws out a retrieve, if he throws it right out there, the dog races back, and if John doesn't give the dog something to do reasonably quick, the dog races back out again, so it's for another one in the same area. And you've got to get a dog out of that. You've got to get a dog out of that. Chris Packham trained it, says Andy Stead. Honestly, false information again. Andy Stead there. Honestly, you get us all in trouble. So, Mindshake, a high-value dummy, or stands off with it for a moment, which I think is possessiveness, bird to hand, though weird. Exactly. And if, I found if you growl at them, oh, what are you doing? And the dog can stop it. I have it on the odd occasion. It's a matter of getting that dog to calm down, bring the drive down. You've got to bring the drive down. You see it with really driven dogs, and some dogs just being silly with it, you know. You train springers, cockers, you train you. There you go. That's why we're all on here, Chris. Most of us are cocker owners. There you go. You're going to keep me busy. You're going to keep me fed for the next 25 years, you lot, because the cocker world is the world that keeps me busy. Springers are just easy to train, a bit like Labradors. You can train them in your sleep. But guess what? Cockers have got that trait, haven't they? I did tell you. You didn't listen to me. Jack David did try telling everybody down here about cockers, and then next minute he was running them. He's running them in competition. So it's funny, isn't it? But they have got characters, haven't they? You can't take that away from the little bastards. They have got such characters, haven't they? Should name them cock-ups. But then again, you fall in love with them, don't you? Because of those craziness, isn't it? It's like having that crazy girlfriend, isn't it? You don't get rid of her straight away. You put up with her for a while, don't you? But then you realise, hang on, is life worth that hassle? But you guys and girls, you love these cockers, don't you? And you know, it's because you're forcing them. You've got to make them want to do it. You've got to make them love to do it. And that's true. That is so true. But there comes a point where you go, you will freaking do it. There has to be. See that? You should have all got a springer, less stress. Yes, but then it's like having that Latino girlfriend, Andy, isn't it? You know, in your 30s, you would have loved it, wouldn't you? Now, it's like, now, forget that. Forget that, innit? Forget that now. Think about it, Andy. These people are younger than you. See, this is the problem. You're an old man now, Andy, in Jersey. Hey, I see the virus. You're all locked down, aren't you? You're all. There's more virus coming back. Is it them students? Are they all coming back? I felt terrible today. Kate contacted us and said, "Can you pick the kids up from school, grandkids from school?" Well, that's where they got the virus. All the kids are passing it on to everybody. There's the virus. The peak area in Callington is the school, because the kids are all freaking. There's no structure. No lockdown. No lockdown. I thought we saw knockdown. I thought you had 80 people in hospital or something in there. I think Christabel says they can go back to a Springer next dog, and he's got a cracking cocker. But I tell you what, make you pull your hair. Imagine I'd had cockers for 20 years. I'd have no hair. I'd be like Andy from Jersey. I'd be like, Chris, stop it, just because you got hair. I've combed mine back so you lot don't get jealous. Paul Jarvis, yeah, Richard, we would all be lost without Rafa. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
You would be lost without Rafa.
Who would?
You.
I'd be lost without Rafa. He's a character. I love his little freaking nutty nature. He is a character, and I like those. I like people with character as well. Okay, Bobby. Bobby what? So, anybody want to ask any questions? Fire away, because that's what we're here for. We're all going over to Corleone Talk for a party afterwards, and we'll see what happens, shall we? Oh, Bobby Charlton. He got no hair, has he? He's got Alzheimer's, and Jackie Charlton died of that, and Bobby Charlton's got it. Get some hair, cockers, Paul. This is it, isn't it? This is it with cockers, isn't it? I think they're absolutely wonderful little characters. And my mate's cocker will not retrieve pheasant, Richard Gould. He only comes back part way and drops it. So he will retrieve it then. It's okay. And other stuff. Do you think it's been spurred? How to fix? Well, the whole point of it is, Richard, back to that same scenario. It's so easy to give advice on the internet. And I would love to be able to give you the perfect answer to go away, tell him, and then he goes, freaking hell, that bloke, that Italian stallion is an absolute genius. Yeah, Richard asked him a question, he fixed it like that without even seeing the dog. And I'm not saying it because you could be boring and have a flat coat. I thought you said you could be boring and yeah, definitely be boring and have a flat coat. And they take three years before they even start to mature. So Richard, let's answer that question again. Look, my mate's cocker will not retrieve pheasant. He only comes back part way and then drops it. So he will retrieve pheasant, but he comes back part way and drops it. Ask the question: is this when he's out hunting, or is it when he's picking up, or is it when you're out hunting, the dog runs in, you've got no control, races out, comes back halfway, puts it down and carries on hunting? I don't know. I'm not there. I can't see it. Or is it the fact that when you're training, you put a retrieve out, you'll go out to the retrieve, pick it, come back so far, drop it, and then come back? Because all these things matter. Like Nez says, back to the basics on that. There you go, back to the basics. He's right. But guess what? It all depends when the dog's doing it, in what situation the dog's doing it. And that's why on these gun dog forums and these so-called professional trainers who are giving quick fix answers, there we go. Lad on our shoot with a cocker goes out, picks it halfway, tries to bury it nearest bush or tree. Exactly. That's a cocker trait. And it was in the old cockers on a regular basis. You'd see it at trials. You'd see a cocker hunting quite nicely, simple retrieve, straight out, then run off round the back of a tree and start digging a hole and trying to bury the freaking prey. Why? Because they're not right in the freaking head. Right? And that's why they put the Springer Spaniel with the cocker, to try and bring some sense and sensibility into it. If you want to know the truth, whether it's ethical, as they say, whether it's within the rules, as they say, that's another question. But that's why they decided to put some Springer blood into the cockers. But it's nothing new. It was talked about in the 70s, in the 80s. It was just hushed up and done on the quiet. And then when someone says something about somebody because they've had a fallout, all hell lets loose that the Queen's got a sprocker. The Queen's got a ringer. And the Queen went, "You're having a laugh, ain't ya?" Because she's from London. Does she speak like that from London?
No, she speaks posh.
Oh, she speaks posh. She says, "Christopher, don't talk to me about that bloody dog. I've seen that many bloody dogs. I don't know which one's mine." It's like her horses, isn't it? Like her horses. If she didn't have the Queen's colours and when they're riding them, you wouldn't know which one's the Queen's horses. She got that many. Don't be scared to give high vocal praise, even though you're on a shoot with the lads. There you go. But sometimes high vocal praise can actually wind some dogs up. But you're right. There's nothing wrong with going, "Good lad, good girl," at the right time. Seen it a few times, says Richard. I have as well. Of course, Chris, we need to see the dog. I'll tell him to go to a trainer. There you go, Richard. I mean, I'm not being funny. I wasn't being patronizing. I'm just saying it would be so easy for me to say, "Oh, I know what to do. Stick it in its mouth and make it hold it." Right? Or kneel down and pray. No, it could be a number of things. It all depends on whether it was in the training, on a training day, whether it's on a shoot day, whether you're in the beating line, the dog's been sent for a bird, picking up line, been sent for a bird. I don't know. So it really matters. Catherine says, "Shit, Kieran, you've got a spanner." He's got everything. He's got everything. He's got a pit bull as well, I think. And a bird. He's got a bird. He's got a cockatoo. Is that right?
He got promoted.
Or a Macaw. A Macaw. What? So Anne winds the wife up. Who's that? I don't give Sue high praise. No, that's not me. I wouldn't give Sue high praise. She gets
I'd fall over in shock.
She'd fall over in shock and it winds her up, like Sol said. I think that's what Sol was meaning. If I give thy praise to the wife. I'm still waiting to get this dog lead and show you how to keep the dog's head off the floor. Yeah, high vocal praise, use sparingly. I agree 100%. You can overuse praise. And at the end of the day, when dogs are hunting in a pack and they're watching movement and they're following the leader, and they work as a team, do they all sit around afterwards, shaking each other, tapping each other on the back, going, well done, have a piece of cheese? No, there's a pecking order. The young eat first, don't they? How about that? So there you go, everyone. We're going over to Corleone Talk, like I said, at 9 o'clock. And it would be nice to see you over there, Sol, on Corleone Talk. I did enter you into Corleone Talk. That's on Facebook. And we could see if you've lost any more weight, because you were looking so sexy last time. I thought I'd have to match you. So I'm trying to. Oh, by the way, Sol, I'm going on just to let you know, ex-doctor Sol, he can't give me no grief. I'm having a dry January and I'm on a diet as well. So we suggest you not come down here for training in January, because Sue reckons I'm not going to be the guy to be with. Bastards.
I'm doing overtime now.
Sue's doing overtime. I can't wait. I'm going to get that masseuse in here. I'm having a sauna fitted out the back. Hot tub. Honestly, I'm going to turn it into a health spa. I'm going to have one of them bikes that you pump. That's the chambermaid. Nez, is that like some sort of Zoom call you do? Well, it's like what you see on Breakfast TV with Piers Morgan, where you bring loads of people onto the screen, and we just have a big screen, and we have the big fat controller. I'm going to let Chris run it tonight. Chris is going to run the show tonight, hopefully, so he can ask each individual and bring them in. And it was really good. It was really good. A good old drink and a laugh. Yeah, and people can say what they want on there without worrying about, because this goes onto YouTube afterwards, it gets watched by 600-700 people, and not being funny, people perhaps stand back a little bit and don't say too much on here, but people open up a little bit more, and it's nice to see people in there who want to have a chat about the subject of dog training, as simple as that. And that's what we're doing. We're talking about dog training, getting dogs to a better standard, and that's what it's about. So that was there's been enough people in here tonight, though. We got 59 people in the house and 14 thumbs up. So obviously I'm doing something wrong. You don't want me to comb my hair back in future. Is that what it is? You don't want me to comb my hair back in future? I'm becoming vain. I'm becoming a film star.
What do you mean becoming?
Any half squirrels going? Yes, there is. There's half a squirrel going. So this is a question for half a squirrel. Okay. A question for half a squirrel. I did have it here.
But if somebody else wins it, William's going to have to barter with him, aren't they?
Okay. There's a question here, and this is for William George Webb, to try and help him out to win a squirrel. So if everyone jumps in and tells the answer, he's not going to get the squirrel, because he got half a squirrel and he's desperate to get the full squirrel. And he does put a lot of input in, so I'm trying to get him a squirrel. So if you lot know, perhaps send him a private message. He's not allowed to Google it. He's got 10 seconds to answer the question. When sailing and you plot a course from A to B, and you set your charts, latitude and longitude, and you sail, you have to allow a certain amount of what when sailing. And this is the same as dog training. So if you could answer that question within 10 seconds, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a certain word I'm looking for. Wind. No, Paul Jarvis. It's not my fault you've got wind. It's to do with the wind. Andy Stead. Leeway. I told you to shut the fuck up and send him the message privately so he could get that and have half a squirrel. Why can't none of you do as you're told? Error. Error. Latitude. Yeah. It's leeway. You've got to allow a certain amount of leeway. So that I bring that into dog training in exactly the same. The direction of the wind, the tide, you have to allow for tide and wind. And so when you plot a course with latitude and longitude and you plot that course, at the end of the day, you're allowing a certain amount of leeway. Now, if you're only going 10 miles, there's not going to be much difference in that leeway. You could soon pull yourself back into that the course you've plotted. But say you were sailing across the Atlantic, guess what? If you were off 10%, you could be down into Jamaica. You know, if you're trying to go over to Canada, you can end up down in Texas, because if you've got the wind wrong and the tide, because a certain amount of tide and wind is guessometry, if you know what I mean. So it's called leeway. So unfortunately, William, backwind is wrong, and you didn't answer that within 10 seconds. I'm watching it beyond my 40 seconds. So I'm sorry, my boy. On this occasion, you're going to have to wait till perhaps next week.
Third time lucky, maybe.
Sue, would you like to go and get a squirrel skin and show him what it looks like?
That's cruel, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it would be
Shall
cruel.
we?
I'm in Newquay on holiday in July. Could do with saying hello. Hello, you say it here today, and showing you what my dog does just from watching your videos. There you go, Nez. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Give us a call. You never know. If I'm not busy, I'm open to seeing anybody. I'm that sort of guy.
And we should be all clear.
And we should be all clear. Hopefully, we should all be jabbed up. Be coming down to Newquay on the Razzle, are you? Looking for a surfer chick? Yeah, that's it. He's only got half a squirrel. Did you realise, everybody, that Sol used to skydive? Did you know that, everybody? Sol used to throw himself out of a plane. He must be freaking mad. He must be freaking mental. Am I right, Sol? Am I right? Did you used to skydive? Did you hear about the Irish parachutist who jumped out of a plane and missed the world? Chris, that was not acceptable. We cannot make jokes like that these days, can we? No,
untrue. Paragliding.
Oh, you never used to throw yourself out of a plane then?
That's why it's got no ear.
Stop. Did you hear what Sue said?
Oh, I didn't say it. Paul said it.
That's why he's got no hair, says Paul. Sue read it out. I thought she was just being rude. I thought she was in for a spanking next time you see her. Want to be surfing with the wife and kids, but definitely having a drink after this, after all that. There you go. I used to hang five down at Newquay. If you just want to know what that means, anybody, I can't explain to you. It does sound dirty, but if you know anything about surfing, hang five. Eh? I remember the Beach Boys. Eh? Peter Piper, bollocks everyone. Enjoy Corleone Talk. I can't get in there. Thing to do with work. So there you go. So 58 minutes gone. I'd just like to say to everyone, thanks very much for tuning in. A bollocks to all of you for tuning in and sticking with us. 48 people have watched it, have been in tonight. And they may have left as well after some of the rudeness of people talking about people with no hair and Irish jokes. It's just getting ridiculous. Honestly, it's getting bloody ridiculous. We have to stop all this. Anyway, born and raised on Durban beaches. Hey, look at that, eh? Hey, sharks out there, though. That's the only problem, isn't it? Sharks. Or was it Devon beaches? Denver, Skinner, Devon or Durban? I was raised on bourbon and Scotch whiskey. Anyway, so 59 minutes gone. I can't see all the bollocks. I've only got one here, Paul Jarvis. That's all we've got. So is that the sort of thanks we get, is it? For tuning in? There you go. There you go. Chris Upton signing off. And if you want to come over to Corleone Talk and have a chat over there, we are going over to Corleone Talk, and it'd be lovely if Chris wants to. Doesn't have to. I'll not really put pressure on him, but it would be lovely if he would run the show. I could sit back in the background and pretend I'm a guest. I could be a guest, or somebody could somebody could interview me and ask me questions, ask questions about my life and my childhood and my girlfriends and my sheep and chickens that I've had in the past. So that's what we'll be doing. We're going over to Corleone Chat, and I think this is the format that we're going to go over to eventually, is Corleone Chat for the people who are interested. Good evening, good night, and bollocks to the lot of you. Thanks for tuning in.